Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into what's arguably the most thrilling and, honestly, the most paradoxical espionage story of the entire American Revolution. We're talking high-stakes deception, daring intelligence gathering, and a fight for liberty that goes way beyond the battlefield.
So let's start with a crucial question to put you right in the shoes of the founders during the darkest days of the conflict. Who really delivered the critical intelligence that actually won the war? If your mind goes straight to Paul Revere or Nathan Hale, well, you're missing a massive piece of the puzzle, one that literally changed the course of world history.
The answer is James Armistead Lafayette. This was a man who risked absolutely everything to fight for a young nation's liberty, all while being legally denied his very own freedom. His story is just this incredible mix of immense courage, brilliant strategy, and, frankly, a heartbreaking contradiction right at the core of the American founding.
Part 1. The Master Double Agent.
The year is 1781 in Virginia, and it's almost impossible to overstate the courage it took for James to make his move. The British were ramping up their southern campaigns, and the Continental Army was absolutely desperate. Now, years prior, the British had issued a proclamation offering freedom to any enslaved person who took up arms for the crown, and thousands took that deal. Yet James, who was enslaved in New Kent County, Virginia, explicitly rejected it. Instead, he volunteered for the Patriots. He risked execution if caught, fighting for a country that still kept him in chains.
With his enslaver's permission, James joined up with the French Allied units under the command of the young Marquis de Lafayette. Lafayette immediately spotted James's potential and recruited him for an incredibly dangerous job, a double agent. Meaning, he wouldn't just be spying on the British. He had to actually convince the British that he was spying for them.
Part 2. Infiltrating the British Command.
Pulling this off required nerves of absolute steel. James flawlessly infiltrated the very highest levels of the British command simply by exploiting their own blind spots and prejudices. Because he was a native Virginian who knew the local terrain, and because he had the audacity to pose as a runaway seeking work, which was super common at the time, the British welcomed him without a second thought. He first served under the notorious turncoat Benedict Arnold, and later became a personal body servant to the commander-in-chief himself, Lord Charles Cornwallis. He won their complete, unquestioning trust.
Just picture this for a second. Imagine serving dinner and pouring drinks for British generals, perfectly playing the role of a subservient laborer, while silently memorizing the exact, top-secret military strategies that would eventually ruin them. I mean, the composure that takes is just staggering.
Part 3. Securing victory at Yorktown.
So he wasn't just picking up low-level camp gossip, he was sitting on a goldmine of strategic intel. Here's how this unbelievable intelligence chain played out. James overhears that Cornwallis is planning to move his troops to Yorktown for winter quarters. He immediately smuggles this critical intel back to the Marquis de Lafayette, who then rushes it straight to General George Washington. This direct pipeline gave the Patriot and French forces exactly what they needed to coordinate a massive blockade and totally blindside the British.
But it gets better. James didn't just feed the truth to the Americans, he fed catastrophic lies to the British. By purposefully relaying fake information about American troop sizes and movements back to Cornwallis, a staggering 10,000 British reinforcements were kept from reaching Yorktown in time.
Because of this masterclass in espionage, the British were hopelessly trapped. The siege worked, and on October 17, 1781, Lord Cornwallis surrendered. Make no mistake, James's intelligence work led directly to the decisive victory that secured American independence.
Part 4. The Paradox of Peace.
So the war is won. The nation is free. But 1783 brings this deeply tragic legal paradox. Even though Virginia passed an act to emancipate enslaved people who fought for the Revolution, the government decided James was legally excluded. Why? Because he served as a spy, gathering intelligence, not as a soldier carrying a musket on the battlefield.
It's honestly a devastating reality to wrap your head around. Imagine delivering the very intelligence that won the American Revolution, completely outsmarting the greatest generals of the British Empire, only to be forced right back into the fields of a Virginia plantation as enslaved property.
Part 5. Fighting for his own freedom.
But James didn't give up. This next fight required years of relentless petitioning. His initial requests were flat-out denied, but then in 1784, his old commander, the Marquis de Lafayette, wrote a powerful testimonial validating his invaluable service. Armed with this letter, James petitioned the Virginia General Assembly again in 1786. And finally, in 1787, the legislature passed an act granting James his long-overdue freedom.
Stepping out into the world as a newly free man, he made a choice about his name. As a profound token of gratitude for the French general's life-changing intervention and the deep bond they shared, James Armistead officially adopted the surname Lafayette. It's a beautiful testament to the mutual respect they forged in the fires of the Revolution.
Part 6. A Lasting American Legacy.
As a free man, James really built a thriving life for himself. He bought 40 acres of land, raised a family, and eventually secured a military pension in his later years. But there's this one incredibly touching moment in 1824. The Marquis de Lafayette returned to America for a grand tour. During a massive parade in Richmond, the Marquis spotted James in the crowd. The elderly French general abruptly ordered his carriage to stop, stepped right down into the street, and tearfully embraced his old friend and master spy in front of thousands of cheering people.
Today, his legacy is physically etched into the American landscape. You can find historic markers at the New Kent County Courthouse in Virginia, all the way to the Lafayette Monument in Prospect Park, Brooklyn, where he stands proudly alongside Washington and Lafayette.
But beyond the bronze statues and the plaques, James Armistead Lafayette's greatest legacy is the quiet, unyielding dignity he maintained throughout his entire life. He was a patriot who defended revolutionary ideals that his own country initially refused to extend to him. He proves, definitively, that the legacy of the American Revolution belongs to Americans of every race.
So I'll leave you with this final thought to spark your curiosity. James Armistead Lafayette was an absolute titan of espionage, but he wasn't alone. How many other, countless, forgotten heroes are still hidden in the shadows of our history, just waiting for their stories to be told? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the history you think you know.